He claimed to be the voice of God. His followers called him the Chosen One. To outsiders, he was a preacher. But behind closed doors, he was running one of the most terrifying criminal networks the world has ever seen, built entirely in the name of religion. This is not a story of faith. This is a story of manipulation, greed, and absolute control. How one man turned religion into a billion-dollar empire of fear. It began like many cult stories, with a promise. The promise of liberation, of healing, of belonging. The leader, whose real name is remembered by very few people, started small. A handful of loyal followers, a rented building, and sermons full of emotion and charisma. He talked not only about God, but also about power, destiny, and divine purpose. He reassured the people that he had been chosen to lead them to a new world, free from sin, money, and politics. The irony is that he was building his kingdom entirely on those three things. Within a few years, his following exploded. People sold their homes, quit their jobs, and donated their life savings to his so-called church. He preached that material wealth was bad, but soon he was living in a mansion guarded by armed men. His sermons were live-streamed globally, his followers spread across continents, and his word became law. To disagree with them was to reject God himself, and thus their power began, not through violence but through faith. The real turning point came when they decided that faith was not enough. He wanted control. His sect gradually transformed into an organization with an army-like structure. Each member had ranks, duties, and secret codes. Those who questioned him were publicly shamed, and those who left were labeled traitors or spiritually dead. What started as worship now started feeling like dictatorship. People began to live in compounds separated from their families under his absolute authority. Soon money started coming in, not from donations but from embezzlement. The cult began investing in legitimate businesses, construction, agriculture, and even real estate. But there were deeper operations going on behind these companies: money laundering, smuggling, and extortion. The religious mask made it untouchable. Authorities were hesitant to investigate it because it was a church. And whenever rumors surfaced, the leader dismissed them as harassment by evil forces. A new class system was born within the organization. At the top were the anointed ones, a small group of elites who controlled finances and enforced loyalty. At the bottom were the common members who were exploited for free labor and donations. Women were told that serving the leader was a divine duty. Some were forced into marriage, some were silenced. Children were taught from birth to believe that the outside world was the devil's playground. The cult had become a self-contained empire, religious on the surface, criminal at its core. As his influence spread, his reach in politics also increased. He began inviting local officials, financing expeditions, and promising moral reform. In return, they got security. Some police officers attended his service. Some judges donated to his charity. Step by step, he created a web of power that reached deep into the government. His words can incite or end riots. He was no longer just a preacher, he was a king. But like every empire built on fear, cracks began to appear. Former members started running up and speaking. They told stories of torture, ill treatment, and disappearance. He revealed that those who tried to leave were threatened and sometimes went missing. A whistleblower described underground rooms used for punishment, where followers were kept in darkness for several days until they repented. Another revealed stolen donations worth millions in offshore accounts. The mask of sanctity was collapsing rapidly. Investigations soon began, but the cult leader was always one step ahead. Lawyers, politicians, and even media colleagues were ready to defend him. Whenever allegations surfaced, he played the victim, calling it a spiritual war. His followers doubled, convinced that the persecution proved his divine calling. The cult became even more dangerous. It was no longer just about faith, it was about survival. What is interesting and frightening is how these cults weaponize human psychology. They do not force people to obey, they inspire them to obey. Due to isolation, emotional dependence, and fear of condemnation, followers stop thinking about themselves. The leader becomes both the protector and the executioner. Over time, morality has been replaced by loyalty, and just like that, one man's charisma turned into global control. By the time the authorities realized the scale of his operation, it was too late. His network extended across the country. Fake charities, offshore companies, and secret communities hidden under religious patronage. The cult was run like a multinational corporation, with each branch serving a single purpose: to keep the leader rich and untouchable. He had private jets, villas, and even bodyguards trained by former soldiers. And yet millions of people called him Father. His teachings became more extreme. He started claiming that the world would soon end and only his followers would survive. Fear became his most powerful weapon. He told them to sell everything, donate all their possessions, and prepare for the last day. Many did. When some families protested, cult members became violent, threatening, kidnapping, and forcing compliance. The religion of peace had become a religion of terror, but power gives rise to paranoia. The leader began to suspect betrayal everywhere. He ordered surveillance of his own members, created inner circles to test loyalty, and punish those who questioned him. His close aides were secretly recording the meetings, fearing that one wrong word could cost him his life. The empire that once seemed unshakable was now rotting from within. Then came the scandal which changed everything. One of his most trusted followers, a woman who had served him for more than a decade, leaked hundreds of documents, financial records, hidden bank accounts, and evidence of abuse. The media was filled with headlines. The governments that once ignored them can no longer look away. The so-called Holy Empire was exposed as a global crime network, trafficking in people, money laundering, and tax evasion under the guise of faith. When officers finally got inside, what they found was shocking. Hidden safes full of cash and gold, weapons stored in compounds. Secret tunnels were used to take people in and out. This cult was not just a religious movement. It was an organized criminal operation, and at the center of it stood the man who called himself the Chosen One, now in handcuffs, still smiling, still insisting he was innocent. Even after his arrest, thousands of followers refused to believe it. He called it a conspiracy, a test of faith. Some people continued his teachings by going underground. Others formed new groups in his name. This is the horrific reality of cults. Even when the leader falls, the ideology lives on. Because it's not just about the man, it's about the illusion he created, that blind faith can justify anything. Experts who have studied his case say that what made him so dangerous was not just his intelligence, but his sense of weakness. He preyed on loneliness, on the human desire to belong to something bigger, to believe in something greater. They offered hope and then weaponized it. This is what kept his empire invincible for so long. He didn't need guns to control people. He used faith. Today, his empire is gone, but the damage still remains. Families were broken. Lives were ruined. Theft of millions of dollars in the name of God. Yet around the world, new cults continue to emerge using the same tactics. Charismatic leaders, divine promises, financial control, emotional manipulation, and ultimately dominance. Different names, same structure. The business of faith is still one of the most profitable and dangerous businesses in the world. So what can we learn from this? Perhaps the lesson is that evil does not always come dressed in black. Sometimes he wears white clothes, carries a Bible, and preaches salvation. Sometimes the most dangerous criminals don't use guns or drugs. They use religion. They sell faith as a product, hope as currency, and obedience as the price of admission. The story of this cult leader is not just a story about one man, it is a warning, a reminder that when trust turns into blind loyalty, and when trust becomes a business, people can be led anywhere, even into the darkest corners of human greed. Because ultimately, his greatest weapon was not fear or violence, it was faith. And that's what made his religious crime empire so powerful and so terrifying.